Greetings. This is a presentation for the public viewing in regards to our special town meeting that will be held on August 20th, 2024. I'm here with our interim town administrator, Ross Perry. My name is Chad Sexton Duranian, and as we have in the past, the Board of Selectmen wanted to make sure that we did a presentation to the general public to go over each of the articles so that there is public awareness. As we always say, if there's any questions in regards to any of these articles, please feel free to call into Town Hall to the Selectman's office, and our administrative assistant can put you to the right person to be able to answer whatever question you may have. So I will start with Article 1. This is a prior fiscal year financial article. This needs to be approved by a 9/10 vote. And the motion is, I move the town vote to transfer from Water Enterprise Fund $656.11 for the purpose of paying the fiscal year 23 Impact Badger meter invoice. Ross?
People might ask, what is a Badger meter? I didn't know it either until last week. But this is the cellular-like communication between water meters in houses and the water department. So it's a way for the water department to check how much water is being used, and actually has proactively helped avoid major leaks when they see a spike in someone's water usage through this Badger meter. So this is a device that the water department uses to track water usage.
I know in attending a lot of the water department meetings, individuals have detected leaks with spikes in there, like you said, their water bill, but it also has alerted the resident or the water taker, as they call it, that there is an issue, and they're able to resolve the issue instead of getting a very high water bill. So these new meters are pretty good at finding any problems that are within each individual's assistance. And this is being submitted by the Board of Selectmen, and it is recommended by the Finance Committee. Article 2, this is the start of current fiscal year financial articles. These are all going to be majority vote. The motion is, I move that the town vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 ATM by transferring from available funds in the Treasury such sums that are necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 2025 as follows. We are transferring from the ambulance receipts to operate EMS $800,000.
This reflects a $100,000 increase over what the town voted in May. We've looked at the ambulance receipts for the last couple of years, and they are continuing to increase. We think that this is a sum that is appropriate and will still leave sufficient funds in the ambulance receipts account for further operations.
So the department continues to make increasing numbers of runs each year, and these runs are subsidized by insurance payments. But this particular article goes directly to operate the EMS service. This is not any part. It does not come back to the town. This is so that they can operate their EMS as fully funded. And again, this is submitted by the Board of Selectmen, and it is recommended by the Finance Committee. Article 3. The motion is, I move the town to vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 ATM by reducing by $66,300 from the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the Treasury such sums that may be necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 2025 as follows. A, reduce line 1, which is BOS salary. The town administrator line needs to be reduced by $6,000 with a new line total of $129,000, and reduce line 4, BOS wages other auto allowance by $2,800 for a new line total of $2,000, and reduce line 112 on the MIS communications by $10,000 for a new line total of $5,000. And D, reduce line 284 police new equipment by $47,500 for a new line total of $47,500. Both A and B are for a new town administrator. We've negotiated a salary that has been lower, and we also lowered the auto allowance than the amount that had been placed in front of the town on May 7th for fiscal year 25. So that would be A and B. C, the town recently installed a fiber optic cable between municipal buildings, resulting in reduced internet costs and the culmination of equipment, or the elimination of equipment and monthly charges. I personally have been working very diligently in getting the IT costs within town under control. There are several areas that the town needed to strengthen, and several areas that to me were unnecessary charging. There were 6 municipal buildings that had separate modems and had individual internet connections to them. And each one had to have a firewall, which has a recurring monthly charge and the internet charge on top of that. So it was approximately, and it's probably a little more than this, but approximately $280 per month per site. With that, we had received a grant that put in the fiber optics between every building. So that will reduce us only needing 1 modem for connection. There is also another modem here at Town Hall, which is a redundant one. And all of the other facilities will be using the internet service that will be provided through Town Hall with a redundant line. Again, this is saving the town approximately $10,000. And it also will improve the ability for the town to provide emergency management services in any town building in the event of an emergency. So if one of the town buildings has a major catastrophe, we would be able to utilize any town building to be able to broadcast or to get information out to the general public, working with the Townsend Emergency Management team to be able to inform the residents. D is the police cruiser expense, and it was planned to cover the first year lease payment for 4 new cruisers. The police department agreed to delay the acquisition of a winter special town meeting vote to transfer this expense from another funding source. The budget reflects the second half of the fiscal year 25 expense. Do you want to elaborate that a little bit on that, Ross?
I think you covered it pretty clearly. Initially, they were looking for $95,000 up front, but by delaying the cruisers, we save a half a year's worth of lease payments. Mm-hmm. And the police department feels that they can continue with their existing cruisers without a significant problem. So, mm-hmm.
The other thought behind the behind this particular entry is that we have had tax lien sales for several properties. The funding for that will be going into the general fund, and part of that would be able to pay for these with our forecasting and planning, so that once we have those funds certified, we will be able to use it out of our out of that particular account. So it's not defraying any costs, it's actually saving us money, but more importantly is we have to wait until our funds are certified before we can actually spend them. Article 4, the motion is, I move the town will vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 ATM by increasing the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the treasury such sums that may be necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 2025 as follows. We are looking to increase line 500 to the North Middlesex Regional School District. That is their assessment by $505,755 for a new line total of $12,841,232.
If I can add here how we sort of arrived at this number, the increase is less than the school had asked for in their April 30th assessment, and it's actually less than they asked for in a lower assessment on July 10th. So a yes vote for this article will only provide guidance to the school. It's essentially voting no on the assessment number they sent us in July. But it's a number that, if accepted by the school, will work within our budget and allow us to have a balanced budget without using any stabilization funds. So it's a guidance number. It's essentially a no vote to their July 10th assessment. But I think it provides a reasonable number for both parties, the school and the town.
So I also want to, I know that this particular article has raised a lot of commentary in regards to the reasoning behind it. Part of the reasoning behind this is that the former town administrator and myself have had meetings with the school, and I guess we need to understand that the school is technically a department of the town. In any department that comes into the town or in front of the Board of Selectmen with their budget, if it is not going to fit into fiscally what we're looking for, then the Board of Selectmen will ask that particular department to reconsider what they're submitting. The schools have been told by the town, this is what we can afford. And we were very generous to say that we were going above the 2.5 that we're allowed. We had proposed in the last submittal to the school, we agreed to 4% more. And when we received the actual assessment from the school, it was up to and nearing 13%, which is certainly not something that the town can afford. There has been a lot of talk in between, the individuals involved in this. I will say that we, the town or the Board of Selectmen, have taken a very active role in talking with the other town administrators and the other Board of Selectmen chairs from both Pepperell and Ashby to see if we all can become aware of what each town can actually supply to the schools and have it acceptable for all towns. In our last meeting, it was stated that the current ask from the school is really not acceptable to two of the towns, us being one town. This particular article addresses a 6% increase over last year. There's also conversation in regards to the school continually has to reduce their ask. That is because their ask has been a lot higher than what the revenues are for the town. Exponentially, if you look at the actual budget for the schools, it's nearing 60% of the town's annual budget, which is very, very high. And if you look across the state, there are other communities that are not even close to that particular number. So it has been discussed between the three towns, between Townsend, Ashby, and Pepperell, that we want to start more active dialogue with the school and come up with a better planning to the budget going forward, starting in next year's fiscal year 2026. Having said that, the town meeting that we're having on the 20th is also going to be, there's a town meeting that's going to be held in Ashby. Pepperell has already approved their assessment with North Middlesex. So depending upon how the town meeting it goes in Townsend and how it goes in Ashby, will determine what we would be asking for to come out of the fund that we may have to ask for in a later article here. Any other comments, Ross?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Article 5. The motion reads, I move the town to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 ATM by increasing the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the treasury such sums that may be necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 2025 as follows. A, to increase line 502, which is the Neshoba Valley Technical High School assessment by $248,209 for a new line total of $1,332,141. And B, increase line 503, Neshoba Valley Technical High School exempt DEP by $38,929 for a new line total of $86,314. So this was in May's presentation of the budget. Lines 502 and 503 reflect the increases from the May annual town meeting warrant and reflect the fiscal year 2025 assessment as approved by a majority of the member schools. So the assessment that is coming from Neshoba Valley Technical High School has been, it is something that we do have to incorporate into our budget. Having said that, after talking with Dr. Pigeon, there is 44 registered students from Townsend, which is the highest amount of Townsend students at that school since the 70s. And this is our portion for each one of those 44 students. So this is not anything that, as I see, that's out of line. The next article, Article 6, the article reads, I move the town vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 annual town meeting by adding to an expense under solid waste, line 572 for $25,000 and raising and appropriating the same to cover the expenses for software applications, invoicing and payment processing, and staffing costs for the process to collect curbside trash fees. Now, I know that there's been a lot of conversation in regards to this particular article or the adding of the curbside trash fees. I guess I first want to say that this has been discussed with not only town council, but we have talked to the Division of Local Services, which is part of the state, to assure that we are moving in the right direction. We've also had a major conversation with the treasurer, collector's office, with the any office, any board or office that was involved in this particular one, which is, we've talked with the Board of Health. We've had the accountant in here. Ross and I have attended this meeting, and we are basically looking at ways to be able to defray the cost of the schools if Ashby does pass their assessment for North Middlesex. That means that there's 2 yes votes, and we will be, the town would be responsible for our full amount that is being asked at this moment. If that indeed happens, we will have to come up with a large chunk of funding to be able to balance the budget. This estimates, the estimates are $8,440 for staff salaries and $16,560 for invoicing, mailing, and software. Ross, you want to give us some of the particulars we discussed in that meeting?
Well, the staff salaries is increased hours, not increased people. So we're not adding any more headcount because of this. We're continuing to revise and discuss just the logistics of how we will collect these fees. But we think that collecting fees and having it go out as part of the, every quarter is the simplest and easiest way to do this. So this will be a bill from the town every quarter for the trash fees.
Now, there has been other conversations in regards to opting out of this service and all of that. We don't have the particulars on any of that. But again, we've been meeting as regular as possible to be able to come up with more details by the 20th. I'm hoping that we do have some more information by the 20th. But again, the major conversation that I'm getting is in regards to the town charging a fee. That is up to the Board of Selectmen to be able to do, number one. This does not have to go in front of the town for a vote. A fee can be established for this particular service. Number two, and more on a global look, the school has definitely made some reductions within their own budget, and they were doing exactly what they were asked to do. On the town side, we have gone through a lot of cost savings, and our reductions have been non-employee. And I want to be very clear in that. We have, and we will be prepared to submit exactly the reduction efforts that we have instituted here at Town Hall. In addition to that, we have a lot of grants. We have probably the most amount of grant money that we've received I don't know exactly how. We're looking at approximately 3 million, maybe even more, for the granting that we've had in the last 2 years. And we've also supplemented a lot of services with ARPA funding. And those figures will be available shortly. We're working on the ARPA funding. We have to report that to the federal government. We have a consultant that has been doing all the reporting on that. No dollar is spent without it being reported. And I will be asking to have that put up on the website before the town meeting, so that all of the ARPA funding and the reporting that our consultant has reported to the federal government is available for the townspeople to take a look at. Having said that, the article mainly is to cover $25,000 for us to be able to set up for the provisioning in regards to the invoicing, mailing, and the software. And if this is approved on the 20th, we can get started on that so that we can get the billing up. We're hoping in what was the decision? Was it October?
October 1st is what we're anticipating.
So the billing, we're hoping to get that all ready to go out on October 1st. Next article is Article 7. The article reads, I move the town vote to amend Article 11 of the May 8th, 2021 annual town meeting by increasing the amount allocated for a Caterpillar loader 903M lease. The account is 307-04-425-5800-2022 -000 by $13,200 and raising and appropriating the same. Want to speak on that? Or?
Yeah. This was a lease payment that was started a couple of years ago, and however, it didn't get brought forward for capital to review this year. This was an oversight. It should have been in the budget that was approved back in May. So we're just catching up with this now and putting it in the special town meeting warrant.
And this particular amount, this $13,200, that is on a continuing lease payment that was initiated starting in the year 2021. So this is not something that this has to be paid. And the we've had a couple of errors in the capital plan this year, and A, I apologize for it, but B, we are taking some steps to make sure that the capital planning committee is apprised of all of that. And I would like to see a more robust capital plan, at least to look at 5 years out and 10 years out, so that we don't miss things like this going forward. The next article would be Article 8. The motion reads, I move the town vote to close out old warrant articles and transfer to the general fund account the balances as indicated below for a total of $18,750. I'm not going to read the account number, but for Article 9 on a special town meeting that was held on December 30th, 2018 for a regional animal control officer, $1,500 has not been spent. Article 13 to the annual town meeting on 5/8/2021, the housing production plan. The remaining balance on that is $13,780. The Article 16 on the annual town meeting from 5/3/2022, it was a used pickup truck for $2,400. We never used those funds. Article 14, the annual town meeting on 5/1/2018. It was to secure document shredding. It was for $1,070. We never used that fund. So the total is $18,750.
This is part of due diligence and looking at our budgets. One, it actually allows money that the taxpayers have provided to be put back into the general fund. So this will help reduce the deficit by a little bit. And it also cleans up our accounting books, as taking these projects off the books, off the records. But these are projects that were completed with less expense than it planned. And it shows that the department heads are working to be as frugal as they can on each of these projects.
And I will add to this particular one, not only I want to thank Ross for going through this list for us and providing these. There were many other articles that we had to, or many other projects that we had to make sure that the funding was put in the right spot, that the monies allocated were actually spent for what they were supposed to be spent on, as opposed to being taken out of the general fund. I also want to thank the treasurer's office. There were many accounts that have been set up that now have been moved into a more higher interest-bearing accounts. The treasurer has been very active in looking at where all of our stale accounts are, updating the town administrator, and then getting decisions and directions from the Board of Selectmen on how we're going to move forward. So I want to thank both the treasurer's office and Ross for the work here. And this, again, is showing us that we are doing our best to be as fiscally responsible as possible. And I think that where we are standing, both with the accountant, with the treasurer, and with the Board of Selectmen, we do have a better handle on where we are, what our financial picture is. And if anyone looked into our audit meeting that we did have, that was we did get a very good report from our last auditor, noting that the work that we have been doing is definitely in the positive direction. Next article is Article 9. The article reads, I move the town accept Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108P, as printed in the warrant. You want to explain what this is?
Sure. This is accepting Mass General Law to allow the town to compensate the treasurer collector $1,000 when she becomes certified as a treasurer collector. She's currently taking these classes, expects to complete them by next year, but so the $1,000 stipend would actually be in the FY26 budget. It would have no effect on the budget this year. But I think it's important to recognize employees that go out and spend extra time, their time, to get certified and to become I guess, more professional in their work. So I think this is something Mass General Law requires us to do, and we're doing it.
Correct. And I just want to reiterate that this cost will not be in the fiscal year 25 budget. It will be in the fiscal year 2026 budget. And I think more importantly is this particular the contract is coming up for the treasurer in fiscal year 26, and having this voted in this particular year will allow us to make sure that we have the right figures in the contract that we will have to renegotiate at that point, and that it will show that the town is negotiating in good faith. Next article is Article 10. The article reads, I move the town vote to authorize the select board to acquire by purchase a certain drainage easement through property known as and numbered 94 Fitchburg Road, Townsend, Massachusetts, and transfer from ARPA funds $4,000 to acquire the easement as printed in the warrant.
So this was a project at this address where initially the street was actually ponding or flooding because the drainage system wasn't working. When the highway department repaired the drainage, it took care of the street ponding problem, but it turned out that we were discharging street water onto private property, which is not permitted. The people involved have worked with the developer, and the developer has put in a pipe extending that drainage from the street across their property. And this article is to basically codify this process and establish an easement that allows the town to have this drainage pipe and to maintain this pipe, and to reimburse the developer about $4,000 for its cost. I think from what I've heard, his costs were more than this, and this number seemed to be a reasonable amount.
And I also want to add in this particular one, I had just read that it was for ARPA funds. There may be I know that we had discussed, the Board of Selectmen had discussed a $5,000 fund on the Board of Selectmen side that also, that was for $5,000. If we used the $4,000 with that particular fund for the fiscal year 25, that would deplete that down to $1,000. So the Board of Selectmen is going to be taking up the decision on that in their next meeting. Anything else on that one? Okay. Next article is Article 11. This is a stabilization article with a 2/3 vote. And this will be, I move the town will vote to transfer from the general stabilization account the amount of, and we have yet to determine what amount that is, to balance the fiscal year 2025 budget.
So if the school accepts the number that we proposed earlier on, this stabilization will ask for zero, therefore we'll move no action on this article. If the school continues with their number that they proposed on July 10th, we'll ask for a stabilization amount of $123,000. If this occurs, the plan is to replenish stabilization in a December special town meeting after free cash has been certified. And as Chaz mentioned, we'll have the benefit of the one-time sale of property to go into free cash, and therefore to go back into stabilization. So the town we will decide at town meeting floor based upon what happens in the earlier articles, what the number is, but it could be zero if everything passes as proposed and the school accepts our number, or it could be 123,000 if the school stays with their earlier number.
My only comments on this is that I do want to be very clear in stating that it is not just the Board of Selectmen that goes over the budget and does the finalization on it. We have been actively talking with the Finance Committee. Finance Committee has provided us with a lot of input. They've also provided us with some guidance. the goal, and my goal as a selectman, has been to assure the residents that we are gearing our focus on planning. Planning has not been a strong point in Townsend for several years, and that's one of the main reasons why I had threw my hat in the ring to become a selectman. I agree with the finance committee that the town should have a very solid 5-year, 10-year financial plan. We had some planning back, in previous administrations, but some of that planning was never followed. We have been, since I've been elected, we have had some major decisions in regards to some of the financial landscape of where we are as a town. The vote for the override was a clear and resounding indication of exactly where the town feels in regards to the situation financially of the town. The Board of Selectmen has heard the town very loud and clear. It is not only the town side or any of the department side. It is we as a village, everyone together, is responsible for making sure that we continue with the services of the town. And the services doesn't mean the school. It also means the recreation department. It means the council on aging. It means the library. It means the highway department. All of these departments are an integral part of what Townsend is all about. You cannot take away from one department without affecting the other departments. There's a lot of focus that this current board has been on making sure that we are doing the best with our ARPA funding and doing our best with grants. I will say that the amount of money that is flowing into this town to have certain projects done with grant money that we are not having to pay out of pocket is insurmountable to what is going on here in town. We also have a major water project, which I do not believe a lot of people understand the magnitude of this. This is a $24 million project that we have taken plan. It has been through the wonderful work of the water commissioners, from the water superintendent. $24 million, it appears, is something that we have been able to not only offset some of the costs, but because of some of the lawsuits that we have joined, we may be seeing that the town actually has to pay little to no money of $24 million. And again, that is a huge benefit to the town. With this particular treatment plant, we are also expanding the water to individuals who have asked to get water that we weren't available to do that before. That improves what our infrastructure is and will continue, along with a lot of the other works on some of the town buildings that we have going on with some grant funds. We have energy committees that have been going through all of the schools and all of the municipal buildings to be able to provide energy saving and green initiatives in all of our municipal buildings. So in regards to the Article 11, I just want to say that with what we will be asking for the stabilization fund, we will be replenishing that along with other things moving forward. So that is what our articles are for the special town meeting. Again, that's going to be held on August 20th, 2024. I thank you very much for taking time out of your day to take a listen to this. Again, I want to thank you, Ross, and I want to thank the other selectmen, Teresa and Joe. We've done a lot of work in regards to the budget. I believe that this is going to be a major hurdle that we need to get over. But once we do get over this budget hurdle, I just ask everybody to be patient, and we'll be able to get through this particular section and then move on to other important duties that we will be facing in the next year. We have a new town administrator that's starting on August 26th, Nelson Moy, and I am looking forward to having him here so that we can start our budget process early, so that we don't run into the difficulties that we ran into this year. So again, thank you very much and have a good day.